Hello, I'm Dan.
I'm Maria.
We're married.
And we're worship leaders.
And we've been actually leading worship together for over 10 years. We feel like God has called us to bring people together to experience the love of Christ.
And we do this through leading worship, creating songs and music.
And videos just like this one. So we're doing something a little different. We're being kind of a little more conversational, just kind of hanging out, talking, and letting you kind of come in and join the conversation. So we want to talk about today staying fresh. Now I should start by saying I tend to really like to keep things fresh.
Yeah,
not fresh like the old 90s slang word, but like I like to do new songs. I like to be up on what's going on. I always like to do a lot of new songs. As opposed to doing old songs or doing songs for a long time. So for me, this is something that I necessarily struggle with, but it is something that I believe in. And I think it's something that you believe in too.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think that you should at least be doing a new song once a month.
That's kind of what I think. There's that's just our opinion, to be honest. So if you disagree with that, that's totally fine. But I have seen, we've experienced some different worship leaders, different churches, and doing maybe the same, 4 or 5 songs for a long time. Yeah. And I think sometimes that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not like God can't use that or God is offended by that. But I just think keeping things fresh can be a really good way to help people engage, whether or not it's not predictable. I think predictability can throw people off and just make it hard to be passionate.
And I think it's hard for me to be passionate when I'm doing the same songs all the time. Yes, it might be easier because now you would hope you have those perfectly.
If you've done the song 20 times, I still make that mistake every time. Yeah. My goodness.
You better have them down and they better be flawless if you're doing them that much. But I think that it really, I feel like sometimes we do a song and it's like, okay, we've practiced it how many times? We've done it. By the time you get out on stage and actually perform it, I already feel like, wow, we've done it so much. Well,
that's the flip side, right? Is like you can feel like a song is old before it's actually old. Yeah. If you do a bunch of services on a weekend, if you do 2 or 3 services on a weekend, that means you've heard the song. If you do it one weekend, you've listened to the song when you first heard it, you liked it. You listen to it again and again because you liked it. Then you rehearse it, you practice it, you rehearse it with the band. You come on Sunday morning, you do the rehearsal, you run through it a couple times. Then you play it 1 service, 2 services. By then you might be like, oh, I'm so sick of this song. This song is so old.
It's so true. And then we're always like, oh my goodness, we did that song. And then, it sounds bad, but I'm just being honest. And then and then you stop and you think, wait, none of the congregation has heard this song yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or they've heard it once. You know what I mean? That can be a tough part, I think, when you're on staff or you're a volunteer in church and you're maybe you're at Sunday morning, you're at Wednesday night, you're at the youth service, you're at the, whatever extra services are going on during the week. Keeping that perspective can be really hard. But I would definitely say, doing a new song a month is I think it's a good balance, doing 1 new song a month. I think when you do a new song, do it a couple times in a row so people know it. Correct. I've heard before, I think this depends on the church too, but that the average church-going person, so the person that says, yes, I go to church, they go to church once or twice a month. Yeah. So if you do a song 1 time in a month, there's a large percentage of people that haven't heard that song. And it'd be the first time for them if you do it 2 weeks in a row, where you feel like 2 weeks in a row, it's so old. Yeah. Now, some churches it's different. I know the church that I grew up in, it was very common for people to be there every single week. So there are going to be people that are there every single week, and they might be saying, "Could you not do that song anymore? I'm so sick of that song." So you got to know your church and your people and know how it's going. Yeah,
I agree. And I think one of the ways that we really recommend how you can kind of find new songs or stay up to date with songs is listening to the newest, what's the best, most popular songs that are out there.
Yeah, at least being aware of it. I'm not saying you got to do only popular songs, right? But kind of knowing, there's been some songs that I didn't ever really listen to. An album comes out, and there's 12 songs and I listen to it. I'm like, I just didn't really care for it, whatever. Or I like this song, but this song kind of went under the radar. And next thing I know, this song is popping up all over the place. And I go back and listen to it and realize, oh, there's a bridge at the end of that song that's really good. Like, Do It Again for me was that kind of song. Right. I didn't really hear it. I didn't really I heard that album. It's an elevation worship song. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then this song, I kept seeing it over and over again. And finally I went back and I was like, why are people doing this song? And I listened to it. I listened to the end where that that part comes in. You're like, oh, that's so cool. Yeah. And then it changed it for me. So I would definitely say be aware of what's going on. A couple tips for that. A good way to stay aware is if you're on Planning Center under the Songs tab has a little box down. It's on the left-hand side, and my right, your left. And it says, I think it says like most popular songs or something. You can click on that and see kind of what are the songs that are the most popular among churches that are using Planning Center, which is a large portion of churches. You kind of see, oh, okay, that's a new song I haven't heard before. Just to kind of see songs that you can check out. There can be, I think nowadays there's lots of worship music coming out. When I was first starting out, it was like Passion, Hillsong. Yeah, it was after that it got pretty sparse, but nowadays there's so much worship music. I like to listen to the Worship Now playlist.
I love to do that on Spotify. Yeah. They have a lot of different ways that you can find different people and different
Here's
bands.
Some stuff you haven't heard before.
Haven't heard before. I like to say that you should stay up to date. You should also, in the styles, is you listen to Christian and not Christian music.
Whoa!
I know. I
don't know how I feel about that. No, that might be controversial for you. And I want to say, if you feel convicted about that, we're not saying that you have to listen to non-Christian music. We're just saying be aware of what's out there. Be aware of what's popular. Because the truth is, people coming into church are probably not listening to worship music on their way to church. Or maybe they are on their way to church, but maybe not on their way to work on Monday.
Not if it's their first time or they're newer to church.
Yeah. Or even church people. On their way to, maybe on Sunday morning they are, but on their way to work on Monday or on the way home from work on Monday, who knows, right? And just kind of being aware of what's going on can be helpful to know, because we want to reach people where they're at. Right. And so knowing where they're at can be a really important thing. So I would say at least be aware of what's going on. What's popular, what's kind of happening in the world, and maybe genres you aren't really normally a fan of. If you're not a fan of, maybe you're not a fan of like pop, but you kind of check out, hey, what's some pop songs? Right. What does it sound like? What's the vibe? Maybe you're not a fan of like R&B or like hip hop. Maybe you're not a fan of country. Maybe checking it out, because just knowing this is what people are probably listening to, at least some of them anyway. Yeah,
it's good to know.
And I think that the goal is to not get stuck doing the same songs week after week.
That's the truth. I mean, I just think that if it was me, I would not want to go to... It would be hard for me to worship at a church that all they did were the same songs every week. Yeah. And I think it just, after a while, it just becomes mundane.
Yeah. And I think it takes planning, it takes work to do new songs. You've got to find the songs, you got to send the set list out. And if you don't plan it, if you don't kind of set it and say, okay, we're going to do this song in a month, let's get the resources together, let's get the song out to the band so they can learn it. Let's start, I think if you're not proactive in that, it can be really easy to look back in the month and realize, oh, we did the same songs this month as last month, which was the same songs as the month before. Yeah. And you realize you're kind of stuck in a rut. So the other thing I think that can be really good about staying fresh is giving old songs a fresh coat of paint, if you will, a fresh vibe. One of the things I love to do is like hymns, but kind of in a more modern worship style. Yeah, it doesn't mean just because they're an older song and they can be hundreds of years old. Yeah. It doesn't mean that you can't redo them in a way, like a revamping of them. I feel like it makes them feel alive again, right? Sure. I mean, it makes you just feel like, wow, I actually really enjoy this song. And then it's kind of cool because, depending on the generations that are in your church, it really can touch them. Like, there might be some of the older generations that are so thankful that you did a hymn, even if it does have a little bit more of an upbeat. Yeah, there's drums, there's less guitar, and you've kind of added some stuff. It's a great way to make it, cross generations too, because then it doesn't feel like an old song, but people know it. People know the words, people know the melody, and that's a powerful thing when people can sing along, especially when, you can do a song where everybody in the room is singing together. That's a really powerful thing. And it helps those songs not kind of die. Yeah. I mean, really, it keeps them going, and it helps the new generations to know about it. And a funny story I forgot to tell you. We did a worship night recently. When we did the worship night recently,
we did Trading My Sorrows, right? We do an upbeat, we revamped it, we've made it really cool.
It's like a young and free version of Trading My
so
Sorrows.
It's so great. Well, it was so funny because there were these young girls there and they didn't know the song.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, how do you not know that song?
That song's like 20 years old now.
But I don't think about how old it is, right? Yeah. But now, that was the first time they'd ever heard that song.
And that's a great song.
It was a great song, and it was like more upbeat, and it was catchy, so they were able to, go along. But their parents were super excited that we did that song. So that made it really cool because it really blessed both of the generations.
For sure. Yeah, that can be a really powerful thing. And I think any good song you can make in any style. You can rearrange it to be. I remember one time we did that old Hillsong United had a song called One Way. One Way, Jesus, you're the only one that I could live for. You probably never heard that song because it's, again, about 20 years old.
Yeah.
We're dating ourselves now. But we did that song for a while and it was getting old, but I still love the song. So we redid it into like a more Latin feel, which not that I'm a amazing Latin guitar player, but we were able to pull it off, and it was actually really cool, and people really enjoyed it. People that were kind of more into a different style of music than me were like, hey, I just so appreciate doing something a little bit different. So
I think that what I want to encourage you is to be creative. Just be creative, be open to learning new songs, really stretch yourself.
Yeah.
And revamp those old songs, or maybe pull out the hymn or whatever it may be, and be bold when you do it. I mean, you're going to be stepping out on a limb, and you're or maybe you're really, like I said, stretching yourself, but be bold when you do it, and people are going to receive it so well.
Yeah, definitely. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope it was helpful for you. Hope it encouraged you, maybe inspired you to do something you haven't done before. That'd be awesome. If it did, let us know. If you think of an old song that you'd love to bring back, throw it in the comments. We'd love to hear about it. If you have an example of an old song that's been redone, we'd love to hear about that too. So check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. See you soon.
See you next week. Bye.